Alright guys, reviews and more, back with a brand new drop. This one's from Dumont of Paris. This is Nitro Elixir. Now this, in theory, supposedly, is meant to be a twist on YSL MYSLF Absolu. So this is an extrait de parfum, so it's going to be very, very strong theoretically. And Dumont puts in, especially with their Nitro series, puts out a lot of very, very strong fragrances. Most notably like Nitro Red Intensely. So let's talk about the notes real fast while this thing gets unboxed, and I can show you the presentation if the box will open. It's gonna open up with notes of orange, apple, bergamot, and cardamom, so very sweet, very fresh openings, what this sounds like, followed by orange blossom, praline, geranium, and mint, so a little aromatic, a little gourmandy maybe in there. And then finally base notes of ambergris or ambergris, amber, tonka, and moss, so some long-lasting base notes there. All right, so it's kind of got like an iridescent kind of look to it. You can still see the liquid inside, but the glass is kind of iridescent. Now, my two other bottles have a regular cap. This one feels magnetic. It is. It's a magnetic cap. Not the strongest magnet, I'm not gonna lie. That's not much to write home about. It kind of falls off, but A for effort. But yeah, there you go. It pops back on. Makes putting on and off kind of easy, so it's kind of nice. But yeah, there's the presentation. Makes sense because the YSL Absolu bottle is just a iridescent silver color. All right, let's go ahead. As always, the way we test this is we do sprays on paper, sprays on skin, kind of give you the opening notes, then I will blip out of existence for a split second, but for me it'll be days, and then I come back in and tell you all about the longevity, projection, that kind of stuff, as well as how the notes break down over time, what you can kind of expect as far as like opening notes, how long they stick around, how long those heart notes exist, what the dry down on skin as like a skin scent feels like, and that's kind of how we do it. So spray, spray, spray. Nice atomizer, puts out a lot of juice. I can already smell it, smells great. That's really nice. Okay, so on paper it's sweet, but it's not like a sickeningly like full-blown just a blast of sugar and fruit. There's a little bit that cardamom kind of is in there to break it up, makes it a little more masculine, not just a straight like a citrusy apple bomb. All right. I can kind of already smell the geranium a little bit. That comes through pretty quickly. And maybe a little bit of that praline, that kind of chocolatey gourmandiness in there, but it's very light. All right, let's do it on skin real fast. Bop, bop, spray, spray. I'll put the cap back on. And we'll zoom in a little bit just for the sake of not having my hand be the only thing in video. All right, there we go. Oh, on skin, the citrus is a little more bitter on skin, so it's a little bit more crisp in my opinion on skin. It comes out, the citrus comes a little bit stronger than the apple. The apple and cardamom are stronger on paper. On skin, the citrus comes out stronger. That makes sense because those citrus chemicals, the oils they use, they break down faster on heat, so your skin's a little warmer. So that's why that's happening. But yeah, that's just excellent. So hopefully that dry down is gonna be pretty good. I can kind of already smell, again, the geranium's coming out pretty quickly. But we'll talk about the dry down and everything else after I blip back into existence. So there you go. See you in just a second. All right, guys, so it's been days and days and days since I was last looking at this particular bottle, and I've worn it for, again, days and days and days. So this, again, just as reminding to myself, more or less, Nitro Elixir. So this is meant to be a YSLY schmoopity boopity of Absolu, MYSLF Absolu from YSLY. I don't have that fragrance, so I couldn't tell you how close it is. I also know that fragrance only recently came out, yet somehow this doopity schmoopity whoopity came out even like almost faster, kind of crazy. But first thing I'll go ahead and say, longevity and projection. Top marks, if that's your goal, man. If you want to project, it projects. If you want this to last all day long, don't worry, it does. This is a 2-sprayer for me, and that's really only because it's like, well, I can get on my clothes or I can get on my skin, and I don't like just doing one or the other. Like, I could just spray this on my wrist and do the one thing you shouldn't do, which is rub them together, and that's gonna last all day long. So, and I will project, so it does not take much. Again, it's an extrait de parfum, so that kind of makes sense. But yeah, it just goes. So if you're worried about projection and longevity, don't. It does that. Now, if you're worried in the opposite sense, do you want to have something that projects too loudly possibly? Are you in an office setting where you want to make sure that you are not smelling up the whole office and getting HR called about you giving Bernice a headache down the hall? Maybe not. Now, this is, I'll also caveat that saying it's a joke. I got no headaches from this. This is not headache inducing in my opinion. So it's an excellent option if you want to project, be noticed, etc. Maybe if you don't want to do that in like an office setting, this might not be for you. But for any other atmosphere where you're not worried about that, not in super enclosed kind of spaces, perfect, perfect, perfect. Now, I'm gonna smell it some more just so I can help myself remember more and more. Oh, it smells so good. It's so sweet. The apple note in particular does come out in the opening pretty strong still. Now those praline, the mint, the orange blossom, it's all kind of in there. It's all well blended together. There is no part in those middle notes where I'm like, oh, it's this now, or it's more like that. It really is just a very tightly blended kind of all at once. So it's not, and the praline doesn't make it really gourmandy. I wouldn't call this a gourmand fragrance at all, even with those elements in there. It's got some sweet ambery kind of notes to it. That's what I get mostly from the dry down. It's overall, the entire presentation is sweet and semi-aromatic, but it's a resinous honey amber kind of sweet. It's not a gourmand kind of sweet in my opinion. The one note in here that I'm like, I didn't really get much of that is the ambergris. I did not notice the ambergris that much, and that just could be my nose. It could be my nose not being too sensitive to it. I have other fragrances from Middle Eastern lines like Afnan 9 PM Rebel. That's an ambergris centric kind of smell in the dry down. I noticed that very easily. I just didn't pick it up here. I did not pick up much of the ambergris. And again, that could just be my sense of smell. Tonka's there, amber's there. Like I said, it's a very resinous honey amber kind of combo. Very luxurious, very nice, mass appealing. Like this, there is no, outside of people who don't want to project too heavy, this is inoffensive to everyone. This is going to be one of those fragrances that's not a hard choice. It's a safe blind buy. You're not going to offend anybody. The only constraint on this is just how loudly it projects in the opening. My advice would be make sure you wait an hour before you go into anybody's enclosed space. So I would not put this on in the car on the way into work. That would be inappropriate if you're working like in a cubicle setting. Now, if you're working in a more open setting or you have time between work and when you drive there, that's when you put it on. Like you put it on in the morning before you eat breakfast. It's gonna, trust me, it's gonna carry you through the whole day. It lasts and lasts and lasts. So don't worry about that. Now, if you're in the situation where like, I want to be noticed, I want to go beast mode, don't you worry. It does that just fine too. So you'll be fine with that. So just keep that in mind. And Nitro Elixir, great option if you want that kind of schmoopity whoopity from YSL. And yeah, overall, great product. Thanks for watching.